And welcome back to Coffee with the Wolves, presented by Grounded Coffee Bar. I'm joined this week by cheer coach Tiffany Scholle. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, our annual
Yep.
conversation. We had you on twice last year.
That's true. That's true. Although we had two competitions last year.
Yeah.
This year we were back to one, so it's fair.
And that's why you're here, though. We're
Yep.
here to talk the conversation. So you haven't been on again, in so long. So we have a sponsor now. We finally
Oh,
got
that's
that
exciting.
Grounded Coffee Bar. So
Nice.
you and I are gonna pause for like 5 seconds.
All right.
Dead silence, because that's where I dropped the ad break in.
Got it.
Because Coffee with the Wolves is presented by Grounded Coffee Bar.
Hey everyone, it's a great day to get grounded. With locations in New Lenox and Frankfort, it's always a good time to stop by and try our seasonal drinks. Whether that's cherry as summer comes to an end or pumpkin as fall begins. We've also updated our hours to better serve you. We're open late on Fridays and Saturdays now until 9 p.m. Make sure you're following our socials. That's Instagram and Facebook for the latest updates on our specials and events so you don't miss out. Grounded Coffee Bar is a proud sponsor of Coffee with the Wolves and JJC Athletics.
Sitting here counting my fingers.
Hey, whatever works, right?
It's easier than like hitting stop and then diving in or
Yep.
whatnot. But yeah, we're here to talk cheer. You guys,
Yes.
It was a week, 2 weeks ago when you guys were down in Daytona for
Two weeks as
Yeah.
of yesterday. So, yeah.
and JJC finished fourth.
We did.
So, how do you feel after the performance? I know in terms of placement, it's a little bit of a step back from the
Sure.
last couple years, but still competing on that stage, getting to travel back to Daytona, finishing fourth in the country, still an
Yeah,
accomplishment.
I mean, I'm never going to be upset about being in that kind of upper even top 5 for the country. That's always a good thing. Most important for me as a coach is just how did the team perform? Did they do themselves justice, I like to say. And I think this group absolutely did. They performed as well as we could have wanted them to, as they could have wanted for themselves. What was huge this year was every year we get 2 days to compete. You have day 1, you get some feedback from the judges, you get your initial placement, and then you get to go back day 2, which is worth a bigger percentage of your overall score. And the hope is you don't have anything major, which we didn't, but there were some comments and some things that we looked at as a group and said, hey, we can probably try and make some improvements. And they increased their score by 3.5 points on day 2. So I mean, that's it. They literally did everything they could. It secured them in 4th place. Each year, it's a slightly different even grouping of teams that you go up against.
Yeah.
This was pretty much a brand new team for JJC. I had one, Janice Hawthorne was my returner from the previous year, and she actually even joined us midway through last season. So it was a new group, first time down to Daytona for them. For some of them, first time ever competing.
Yeah.
For one of my athletes, first time ever traveling out of the state. So lots of fun new firsts, and they did a great job. It's always a great experience. Super proud of them, and I think it sets us up well to, look ahead for next year.
One of the good things you can use when recruiting athletes, you can have lots of firsts here at JJC.
Yes. Yes. We can give you a lot of great first experiences. And to be honest, that is kind of my goal as a coach and always is, just to make sure that, what they are experiencing through cheer, through being a student athlete, is something that they can look fondly upon and hopefully help them as they move forward to pursue whatever it is they want to do.
So you mentioned one of your athletes, or a handful of them have never competed in competitive cheer, but also one of them have never left the state. How do you get a little kind of further in the conversation? I would normally save this for later towards the end, but like when it comes to recruiting, how do you recruit knowing a lot of the athletes you're looking at, they may not have actually cheered competitively?
Yeah. To be fair, when I recruit, I definitely look for experience. And we put that out there. We generally have a disclaimer. Hey, if you have not competed before, you're going to have to put in a little extra work. If you are not familiar with some of these skills, we may have a hard time incorporating you. But through a recruitment clinics and open gyms and tryout process, which we're actually getting ready to start pretty soon here for next season, it allows for me and my coaching staff to just take a look at potential and see these athletes that like, okay, you have the skills and you have kind of the wherewithal to be a sponge and absorb some of the things that we can impart upon you. And then it becomes a little bit more of a training process. And so that part of the training is not just learning skills and getting the conditioning, but also training their minds and training them in like, what is it going to feel like when you go to compete, and simulating as best possible what that might be so that it's not a shock.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of recruit maybe outside of cheer and not not necessarily outside of cheer because you want the experience and you need to know how to cheer, but like in my mind I'm thinking like gymnast, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. At the college level as of yet, which also this was only our third year competing for JJC, so we're still kind of in our infancy. Yeah. I haven't come across it too much. I've had I think last year I had a couple gymnasts saying, hey, we'd like to try the cheer thing. It ultimately didn't come to full fruition for them. When I was coaching at the high school level, this was very common. Yeah. We would get gymnasts that would kind of convert into cheerleaders. The other thing that's common at both levels, and I am completely open to, is gentlemen. Yeah. Like a lot of male athletes that have never cheered before, they're usually a pretty quick transition to get them caught up on some of those cheer skills. My general rules are if you can lift a body and you can flip your body, I can work with that. We can make that happen. So
I'm just thinking, I'm trying to imagine like I could probably lift somebody, but I can't flip.
I mean, I don't know. It's something about that Y chromosome. Usually they're very suggestible to like, hey, we'll get our tumbling coach in. He'll spot them a couple times and they get it. Yeah. So if you ever want, just come on down on a Thursday.
Maybe. But anyway, how was the trip to Daytona? In the past you've talked about, just kind of getting down there and kind of experiencing the competition because you're there with colleges of all, sizes. Yeah. And then also, just, being in Florida in the spring. Yeah.
So it was interesting. This is the second time this has happened to us. The Florida weather was not super cooperative.
I'm shocked.
I know, right? And it's kind of now I'm realizing it's a common, just huge leap of faith on the organizers of this event, the National Cheer Association, to put so much faith in Florida weather in spring. And so we got there on Wednesday. We were scheduled to compete Thursday morning. And we had, before we left, gotten the notification that they were shifting the schedule because it was rainy, it was windy. About half of the events take place outside. And it's not going to happen in those weather conditions. So they have their plan Bs. They wound up shifting those events inside, pushing our events off a day. So that gave us an extra day to kind of get acclimated to what things were like there. Didn't get a ton done outside on Wednesday, but we already had a scheduled practice indoors, which we made. And then that gave us Thursday where the weather was a little bit better, not good enough to be out competing in it, but we could do some things. And I think for this team, that was perfect. Yeah. Like, what a happy accident to get a little bit of extra time to just get used to what everything's like. That they've got this whole shuttle system to get you from the hotels to where the competition's happening. And when you show up on that, I'll call it a campus because it's a big convention center across the street from the hotel that has this band shell. And you're talking 830 cheer teams were there. Wow. In total. And then they have dance teams that are doing their nationals as well at the collegiate level. So it's just like wall to wall bows and rhinestones and things. And you've got all this practicing happening outside all over the place. So that I think it's great to experience. And year 3 for me, I'm like still kind of walking around like, oh, look at this. Isn't this so great? Yeah.
I don't think, and maybe we have, I just don't remember it since we talked so little on here. But I didn't know you guys competed outside, and I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like,
well, we actually don't.
Okay.
So they do split with all of those teams. It's not like we're not all competing against each other. You're split by your school. So junior colleges compete separate from 4 years, and even the 4 years they're split D1, D2, all of that. You're also split by if you're all girl or co-ed, and then they have a split for intermediate versus advanced. And we compete against all the intermediate teams in all girl junior college. Intermediate teams tend to be inside, so we compete in the Ocean Center. The advanced teams are outside on the band shell, again, unless it's inclement weather. This year, what they added in, which was really cool, was they did all of the awards on the band shell. So even though we didn't compete outside, we got to go accept our finish and kind of get recognized outside on the band shell, and get a little bit of the experience, outdoor experience that way.
Yeah. On the it's so weird though. Like, so outside, like, have you ever cheered or coached cheer outside? And I know, like, like cheerleading at like a football game or
Sure.
something, but competitively, because it's got to be a different training exercise, especially in Florida. The humidity,
Yeah.
like it, the difference in
Yeah.
indoor outdoor there.
So we do train a little bit for being outside, even here at JJC, because while we will compete indoors, the majority of practicing and preparation you're doing when you're down there is outside. So we try and find opportunities when the weather cooperates with us here in Illinois, which sometimes leading up to, an April competition, it was pretty cold here. We didn't get a lot of time to do it right before, but in the summer, we'll take some time outside. You're right. It's the humidity, it's wind, because sometimes it'll be kind of breezy, but not breezy enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
The sun, getting used to, and even when we were down there trying to run some of our practices in between events, we had to kind of angle stuff just the right way, because when you're stunting and holding someone above your head, you can't get the sun in your eyes. So it's definitely something that is taken into consideration, and certainly those advanced teams that know that they're competing out there put a decent amount of time into as much preparation as they can get, and basically it just means, I would imagine, 50+% of the time that they're practicing, they're doing it outside in the elements.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your student athletes, and then you've mentioned a few here already, but, who kind of helped pace the team at the competition? Who kind of maybe took a leadership role or just performed maybe better than expected or made, leaps in improvement?
So certainly Janice, who is my returner, I was very proud of her. She stepped up big time by kind of being that mentor for the rest of the team. She had been there. She knew what to expect. She was able to have those conversations with her teammates, but also then once we were there, really kind of set the tone for, hey, we're just going to do this, and then we're going to move on to the next thing, and it's all okay. I would say, to be honest, and I know this is going to sound like maybe cheesy, but the rest of the team, they all had their moments to step up and be a leader, and they took them and they did it. And I told them at the time, I'm going to repeat it now, so proud and so impressed with the poise that they showed and the way that they were each able in various moments to step up and lead each other and be there for each other to just make sure that the job got done.
Yeah. And it seems like very important in cheer because, again, you're talking holding people up, flipping each other. You want everyone on their A game.
Yes, you want everyone on their A game. Trust is huge. And we talk a lot about, it kind of starts with trusting yourself, which I think was the big key aspect for this team. It took some time, right? And then once they could start trusting themselves, they were trusting each other, they were trusting the process, and it all paid off at the end.
Yeah. I know in the year you were expecting to participate in 2 competitions this year. I remember being caught off guard because I think we were, I don't know if it was a staff meeting or what here. It's like, shouldn't cheer be traveling? Like, oh no, that's not happening now.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Wait,
Yeah.
nobody told me.
Yeah, so the NJC AA national event, which we did last year, was a great experience. Took second at the onset of the season. Looking forward to doing that again. Started preparations. To be frank, we had some personnel issues in that our roster, what we wound up going to Daytona with, wasn't really even finalized until, I would say, late February. We kind of had some comings and goings and everyone just trying to get everything figured out. And that kind of gets further complicated by the fact that that event does run at a more advanced skill level.
Yeah.
And so outside of even any of those things, with a brand new team that has a wider range of experience and skills coming into it, we just were not as prepared as we would want to be to, quite frankly, safely compete, because it's not about making sure that we're going, to win. It's some of the skills that would have to be done. We wouldn't have been able to safely prepare and do. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to now next year. If we get good retention and good experience from this team and now can add on to that, we should be in a better position to participate again. And I know too, just that whole competition format is very much in its infancy, and they're still trying to figure out what's going to work best to serve all of the different junior colleges that they want to go. They've got some juggernauts that go and will go every year because, your Navarros and your Trinity Valleys, they've kind of almost built their school around cheer, and that's just, it's unique. It's amazing, but that's not your average JUCO.
I was disappointed when I heard you guys weren't going, but it makes sense, especially safety again. Holding people up, flipping them.
And for that one, you're talking like someone standing on top of someone and then holding someone on top of them. Yeah. And it's like, if you don't get the time to get all of your ducks in a row for that, you don't just try
it. Cheer seems like a, what's the word? I can't think of it, but it just, as someone who probably shouldn't be anywhere near that, it looks frightening.
It can be, but when it works well, it's actually very safe and calming.
And you mentioned you're going through, basically the postseason now, like the off season for you. So exit interviews, that sort of thing. Working on the retention. The season's so weird for cheer because you expected 2 competitions. You had just one. I think my first year here, you had just one. And last year was the oddball with the 2. How do you kind of stay, as a coach, focused on building a team, training a team, coaching a team, getting them prepared for one real event every year, 2?
Yeah. And that is unique to college cheer.
Yeah.
Because anyone who competes in high school, you get 6. Now they just upped it to, I think, 8 or 9 competitions for the season. So you're going like every week, every other week once you get into season. That was a big shift when I came to JJC. It's trying to find opportunities to at least perform. Yeah. Again, this year was pretty unique because of a lot of things that were going on. I also had surgery, so I was out for about 8 weeks in there. So we tried to, call in friends and family to watch us perform. In years past, we use halftime at the basketball games. We've been able to partner with area gymnastic or rec cheer teams that are hosting events, and we can go in and do an exhibition performance. So that's like the best way to prepare for competitions. When we have a little bit of flux with, are we doing both events? Are we doing just one? The start of this past year, we started trying to train some of these 2 high pyramids and stuff that we would need for NJCAA. And then if we didn't have enough people or we didn't have enough spotters, it had to go on the back burner. And then that starts dictating if we can really pursue it. Daytona, I think, will always be the standard and the standby. That will always happen because we do get the opportunity to compete at this intermediate level, which I think is a nice sweet spot for JJC and for the athletes that we have been able to recruit. And it gives us a little bit more time to it. The season will start to seem long, but we can afford some ebbs and flows with the intensity that we are training in an effort to try and make sure that we're well prepared.
Now, this is pretty much the 4th time you've been at Coffee with the Wolves. I'm pretty sure I've asked you this question all 3 previous times, but how do you, if it's even possible, get more regular competition here for JJC competitive cheer?
So the the way to get more regular competition would be to make sure that we are in a position to continue with this NJCAA style event, because that opens the door to have some invitationals before their national event, which is usually end of January, February time. The first year that they ran it, it was brand new. And again, the teams that were actually involved in doing it were all pretty far. I think the closest team to us was in Dodge City. And so to try and work out like a random middle of the week invite where you're just, doing all of these skills against each other didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So hopefully as that grows as a whole, as more junior colleges get involved, even within our area, then that would afford the opportunity for us to at least do some invitationals there.
Yeah.
With NCA, they're a one and done, and they will allow for teams to also compete at an NJCAA event, but they will not allow for you to compete at other national level events. And I think once you get in this college arena for cheer, at least, it's like that or nothing. You've got a couple different options for nationals, but not a whole lot of invitationals, so to speak. Unless you're doing something, what NJCAA does is kind of more along the lines of stunt the sport, which now NCAA is doing as well, but they don't call it cheer because it's a little different.
Yeah. I want to know what do you use? What's your recruiting pitch like? And we can end on this, but I want to know what your recruiting pitch is like when it comes to, going out there and trying to build a team.
Sure. I mean, I sell prospective athletes on the fact that we are a nationally recognized program. We're nationally recognized now in 2 different organizations. We've got great facilities. We've got a wonderful setup here to support our student athletes as well, with our athlete retention specialists that work with them on scheduling classes and making sure they have what they need. We really do have a great surrounding area with cheer talent. And of course, I think just the college itself is a great selling point. If you're looking to continue cheering and continue your education, you have so many options here at JJC, and you cannot beat the per credit hour cost. And honestly, the kind of last nail that I try and throw into the coffin of coming over here is we go to Daytona. Like you can't. That experience is second to none. Everyone's got to go there. I would say at least once. You can go 3 times with JJC. You get 3 years of NCAA eligibility with a junior college, and it's a great experience, and you can learn a lot of stuff.
I'll second that. I grew up partially in Florida.
There you go.
not so much the cheer part. I can't.
That's fine, but
No
hey, you get to be in Florida in April, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, Tiffany, I appreciate you taking the time to join me here on Coffee with the Wolves. Season just started and just ended.
Yeah, we're starting to go into that little bit of the loop. So.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the 4th place finish.
Thank you.
And good luck. You're recruiting and then next season.
Thank you.
To everyone watching, thank you for watching Coffee with the Wolves, presented by Grounded Coffee Bar. As always, we end with Wolf of the Week, and we will see you next week.